Good day. We are now here again at FilSciHub Ed for another biology topic discussion. But before we start, let me present this video to you. So may kinalaman po dyan ng topic natin for today. And kung makikita nyo, we will discuss all about ecosystem. And sobra namang laki at bilugan naman ng mga animals natin kasi may tatalakayin pa tayong isa all about cycles, pabilog at pabalik-balik na proseso. At ito ang material cycling and energy flow in ecosystems. So this is a grade 8 biology topic in their fourth quarter. So let's start with their before we start pala, papakilala po muna ulit ako kahit ito ay pang-limang module na. Ako nga pala si Kuya IMG, third year BSMST student from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. And I am your biology module creator here in FilSciHub. So to start, here are the content standards and most essential learning competencies that will be discussed in our topic today. So the content standards is that the one-way flow of energy and the cycling of materials in an ecosystem. This is the one that should be known after this topic. Next, most essential learning competencies. So the students should describe the transfer of energy through the trophic levels, and the student should analyze the roles of organisms and the cycling of materials. And lastly, the student should explain how materials cycle in an ecosystem. So first part, we will discuss the energy flow and the ecosystem. First thing is that we should know what is the meaning of food chain. So, para sa iba, talaga namang simula elementary pa lang alam na tong food chain. So, food chain, it's simply the sequence of transfers of matter and energy in the form of food from one organism to organism. So, kung makikita nyo sa picture natin, here, so there is a producer, which is the grass, then primary consumer natin, yung grasshopper, and then, syempre, yung mice, kakainin niya yung grasshopper, then it will be our secondary consumer, and then yung snake kakainin yung mice, it will be our tertiary consumer, then yung ating hawk kakainin naman yung snake, and siya yung magiging final consumer natin. And if namatay na, so magkakaroon tayo ng dead body with the decomposers, and ang example dito yung fungi natin. And itong fungi natin, tutulong pa ito to give more nutrients dito sa ating grass, dito sa ating producer. So, dapat may araw pa pala dito. So, yan. Ganyan lang yung ating food chain. So, kaya nga chain kasi it is a series of processes. So, ito lang yung mga examples ng ating mga producers. So, wheat, flowers, corn, consumers natin. So, ito ay depende na kung pang ilan ba sila sa trophic level natin. Kung primary, secondary, kasi different food chains, different, pwedeng maiba-iba. For example, sa isang food chain, pang una yung B, pero maaaring pang secondary consumer naman siya sa ibang food chain natin. So, we have examples such as bee, cow, and chicken. And then we also have our decomposers. So, ito yung mga ilan sa decomposers natin. So, kung makikita nyo, mga maggots, mga fungi, and then merong ilang mga microorganisms pa tayo dyan. And kung may food chain tayo, so meron din tayong food web. So, itong food web naman, this is a network of numerous interrelationships. So, basically, pinagsama-sama nating food chain to. And according to this, so if we trace all the prey of the top carnivores and then trace the food sources of each of those prey and species and so on, so yun, matitrace natin yung pinaka basic na food source nila and kung hanggang saan yung dulo yung final or end consumer natin. So basically, mukha talaga tong food web kasi nagba-branch out, pwedeng maraming producers tapos iisa lamang yung consumer natin. For example, this animal, dalawa yung kanyang kinakain. So pwede din namang iisang producer and marami naman siyang pinapakain na or binibigyan ng nutrients na animals. So technically this food web, yun nga, it is an interaction, interrelationships of many food chains. So makikita nyo, this is one food chain, this one food chain, ito isang food chain din, ito isang food chain din. So makikita nyo naman yung interaction nila. Next, we have biomass. So this is the total mass of organisms in a food chain or a food web. So mamaya, mas matatakal pa natin to when it comes to the biomass pyramid. So technically, yun nga, total mass lang. So mamaya, as our trophic levels tumataas, so makikita natin na bumababa din yung biomass. So next naman natin ay ang ating energy pyramid. So this energy pyramid, minsan tinatawag din siyang trophic pyramid because of the trophic levels and ecological pyramid. And this is a graphical representation showing the flow of energy at each trophic level in the ecosystem. So, kung makikita nyo, here is an example of an energy pyramid. So, we have that rule of 10 or as the our trophic level, umaakit siya papunta sa apex predator natin, nababawasan ng 10% yung energy na napupunta sa cada trophic level pataas. So, if we have the 100% of energy in the primary producers, pag dumating na siya sa primary consumer, of course, if we do the math, mababawasan siya ng, 10% na lang yung mapupunta sa primary consumer. So, what is the 10% of 100%? So, of course, 10%. And then, 10% of 10% is 1% pag pumunta na sa secondary consumer. And yung 10% na yun ng 1%, 0.1% na yun na lang matitirang energy sa ating third level consumer. And pag dumating pa sa apex predator natin, 0.01% na lang yung energy na makukuha niya. So, lahat ito, of course, namamatay. So, it will be together with the decomposers and then it will be recycled as a nutrient then magbibigay din ito ng nutrients sa ating primary producers which are the plants. And some of the energy is lost as heat. And ito, we should not forget yung sun's energy as one of the major source of energy. Kasi dito talaga naggagaling yung energy natin from the primary producers pataas ng ating food or energy pyramid. And also, we have the biomass pyramid. So, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na habang tumataas or umaangat yung ating trophic level from the producer to the most complex and higher consumer natin, pababa din ng pababa by 10% yung ating biomass. For example, in this aquatic ecosystem, we have the phytoplankton which have 1 million kilograms. So 10% of that will be 100,000 kilograms. That ito na yung biomass, ideal biomass natin for the zooplankton. And for the herring, 10% of the 100,000 kilogram is 10,000. And then for the sea lion, 1,000. So, yun nga, 10% lang ng 10% yung natitira kada taas natin ng trophic level. And ganun din dito sa terrestrial ecosystem natin. So, dun yung makikita kung gaano ba nag-work yung ating energy flow. So, kaya mas maganda, halimbawa, kumain tayong mga tao. So, kapag directly na plant agad yung kinain natin. So we will be the first consumer and mas marami tayong energy na makukuha. Unlike kapag ang kinain natin ay pork or chicken na marami pa yan. For example, marami pang dinaanang levels sa ating trophic level. So mas konti ng energy yung makukuha natin from that particular animal or food. And now, dadako naman tayo sa ating cycling of materials in the ecosystem. So, for this one, we have three types of cycles. So, the first one is the oxygen-carbon dioxide cycle. So, basically, ito ay lagi na din dinidiscuss sa inyo nung elementary pa lang. So, it is all about the photosynthesis and respiration. Particularly, yung photosynthesis natin kasi it converts carbon dioxide gas to the organic carbon natin. And on the other hand, our respiration cycles this organic carbon back into the carbon dioxide gas. So kung makikita nyo, yan, hihinga itong mga hayop at saka itong si Kuya ng hangin from the trees na naglalabas ng oxygen and ilalabas sila as carbon dioxide na kukunin naman ng plants for the use for the photosynthesis, and then yung ating atmospheric oxygen will be here and then it will go back here to our plants that will be sent off to the humans and animals for breeding. So, yun talaga, and respiration. And kung makikita ninyo, paulit-ulit lang talaga siya. So, this is one of our first few cycles. So, why is oxygen important? So, basically, it comprises 65% lang naman ng ating katawan. So, 65% of our body contains oxygen atom, and it is used in, of course, respiration and breathing. Without that, paano tayo hihinga? Paano tayo magpo-produce ng energy, di ba? So, why is carbon important naman? So, kung 65% ang oxygen, it comprised 18% naman ng ating body. And if there is no carbon, oh my God, there will be no plasma membranes of your cells, no sugar molecules you will use for fuel, or even no DNA that literally serves as your body's user manual. So, ganun ka-importante ang carbon sa ating katawan. So, for the next namang cycle, we have the water cycle. So, this is an essential, very essential part of our ecosystem dynamics because it influences our climate and it is driven by the sun's energy. And as you can see, makikita nyo na naman dito yung mga normal na nakikita nyo simula elementary evaporation, condensation, precipitation. So, technically, water from the land and oceans and other bodies of water, for example, here, enters the atmosphere by evaporation or pwede ding sublimation natin where it condenses here into clouds. It will form clouds and falls as a rain or snow through precipitation. So precipitated water may enter fresh water, for example, this one, bodies or infiltrate the soil, for example, through surface runoff. For example, pwede ding direktang bumaba yung precipitation natin or yung ating rain or snow sa ating mga bodies of water. And because of that, the cycle is complete after that when the surface of groundwater re-enters the ocean nga. So, ganun lang, pabalik-balik lang. So, mag-evaporate, magko-condensate, precipitate, and then yung mga runoff natin, pwedeng bumalik or babalik sa ating mga bodies of water, and the cycle continues. So why is water important? So your body is made up mostly of water, around 60%. Ganon kadami yung water sa loob ng katawan natin. And because of that, you need a reliable supply of fresh water to live. And as you can see from the illustration here, ganon lang, ito lang yung fresh water sa buong mundo. This includes all the Earth's water, including the oceans. But as you can see, ganito lang kaunti ang fresh water sa ating mundo. And therefore, we should conserve, really conserve our water, mga bata. So last cycle for this topic, we have the nitrogen cycle. So, basically, itong nitrogen cycle, ang flow lang nito is that the nitrogen enters the living world from the atmosphere. So, kung makikita nyo, ito yung unang arrow, kasi from the atmosphere nga siya, 'di ba? So from galing taas via nitrogen fixing bacteria. So this is our nitrogen fixing bacteria. So this nitrogen and nitrogenous waste from animals, so yan, pinagsama natin, ito yung nitrogenous waste from the animals, is then processed back into gaseous nitrogen by soil bacteria. So dito, ito yung ating tinatawag na denitrification, which also supply terrestrial food webs with organic nitrogen they need. Yan. So, from atmosphere, we will have nitrogen-fixing bacteria, nitrifying bacteria, denitrification process, and then it will go back to the atmosphere, and the cycle goes on. So, ganun lang kasi actually, simple lang to kasi cycle siya. So, paulit-ulit lang. Hindi siya nagba-branch out, hindi siya lumalayo because it repeats itself. Katulad ng water cycle and nung ating carbon dioxide oxygen cycle. So, why is nitrogen important naman? So, this is a key component of the body found in all proteins and DNA. So, mahalaga and this is a common limiting nutrient in nature. So, for our supplemental video naman, we have this first video, yung energy transfer and trophic levels. So, this video further explains kung ano ba yung mga topics na na-discuss natin. Yung energy transfer, energy loss, food chains, and food webs. Next, supplemental video 2. So, maganda to. I highly recommend this because this video shows the so-called brown food chain. Yung I think maraming hindi familiar dito but it explains how such unlikely yung ating mga fun scum or animal poop, how they contribute enormously to the amount of energy of our ecosystem. Malaki yung kanilang naitutulong talaga. So this video will show you that. So, assessment time na. So, in order for you to check if you have learned something today, we will have this assessment time. And please, if you have the chance to write your answers, please do that. And please pause the video to check, to really check if you really gets what I am teaching right now. So, ito yung first part natin, yung matching type. So, pwedeng i-pause nyo na agad tong video na to and then try to answer this question and then, yeah, later you can try to check if your answers are correct. So, basically, ito ay to identify lang and to match the specific description to the organism being described. So, ito na yung mga answers natin. So, plant eaters, of course, ito yung tinatawag natin na herbivores. Okay? Next, consumes waste and dead organisms. Ito yung decomposers natin. And as you can see, minsan or lagi, ito yung nasa dulo ng ating food chain. But, bumabalik to kasi nagbibigay siya ng nutrient din sa ating producer. So, it consumes waste and dead organisms. Next, consumer captured and eaten by another consumer. And that's what we call the prey. Kasi consumer din siya, but it was eaten by another consumer. Therefore, nabiktima siya. So, prey siya. Next, use the sun to make energy-rich molecules. So, this is evident and obvious. So, we have the producers here, ating mga plants. Next, animals that eat other animals. So, kung kanina, yung plant eaters, herbivores, so this is called carnivores. Next, animals that eat plants and other animals. So, dalawa. If kumakain din ng plant and ng animal, we call that omnivores. Tayo mga tao, tayo ay omnivores. Next, consumers that capture by the way, depende pala. Baka meron din vegan din sa atin. So, pwedeng purely herbivore din yung tao. So, yun. Next, consumers that capture and eat other consumers. That's what we call predators. This is the exactly opposite of the prey. Kasi yung prey, that is the victim, while the predators, ito talaga yung nagka-capture and eat ng other organisms natin. And last, consumers that live in or on a host. Ito yung ating mga parasites. So, one example of this is yung ating mga roundworms, tapeworms na na-discuss natin last session na tumitira sila sa loob ng tiyan ng kanilang host to get all the nutrients they need. And yun, basically dun sila nabubuhay, living inside their host. So we also have this Q&A, the question and answer. So the figure shows a food web arranged into trophic levels. So as you can see, ito yung pinakita natin kanina, food web. How many energy transferring steps away from the sun is the giraffe? So this is the giraffe. And the answer will be the giraffe is on the second trophic level. So as you can see, this is the producer. This tree is the producer of this food chain. And the first or the primary consumer will be the giraffe. Since it's the primary consumer, so imagine natin nandito ang sun. So the sun gives off energy. Doon kumukuha ng energy yung ating plant. So yung plant yung ating first step from the sun. So therefore, giraffe will be the two steps away from the sun since it is on the second trophic level. So first trophic level, this tree. Second is the giraffe. So the third trophic level will be this lion. Okay. Next, how does a food web differ from a food chain? So baka marami pa rin nalilito. So the answer is that a food chain is a series of steps in which organisms transfer energy by eating and being eaten. So ito, transfer of energy, dire-diretso siya. A food web, on the other hand, is a feeding relationship among the various organisms in an ecosystem that forms a network of complex interactions. So as you can see, itong food web nga natin, it is an interconnection, interrelationship of many food chains. So a food web links all the food chains in an ecosystem together. So sige nga, bilangin nga natin kung how many food chains do we have in this food web. So first we have this one, and then two, and then three, and then four, and then five, and then six, and then seven. So we have seven. And as you can see, saan ako nagsimula lagi? Sa producer tayo lagi magsimula. So yun lang, basically, food web is an interconnections and it links different food chains. Okay? And last, uh, you should trace the path of water that leaves a sea uh, through evaporation and describe how it might return to the sea. So as you can see, yan, meron na tayong flow dito. Meron tayo dito sa, halimbawa, ito sa ocean. Merong water cycle dito. May water cycle din dito. May water cycle din dito. So, trace the path of water that leaves a sea through evaporation. So, from here, evaporate and describe how it might return to the sea. So look at the illustration. So the answer will be the water evaporates from the sea, as you can see here. So this will be the evaporation part, and it condenses in the atmosphere and falls as precipitation. So this is the precipitated part. Some rain may fall directly, as you can see. So yun yung first part on how it might return to the sea. So fall directly on the sea, and some water. So as you can see here, ito yan. Ito yung second natin, may return to the sea as runoff. So the first part and the second possible way that water may return to the sea. So yun lang, ganun lang kasimple based from this illustration. So to sum up our class today, we have described the transfer of energy through the trophic levels. We have analyzed the roles of organisms, yung ating mga organisms na producers and such in the cycling of materials. And we have explained how materials cycle in an ecosystem. So we have three cycles that have been discussed. First is the carbon dioxide, oxygen, or oxygen carbon dioxide cycle. Next is the water cycle, and last is the nitrogen cycle. And I hope that you really learn a lot from this video. Thank you for listening, And for more biology topics discussion, let's visit our website, Facebook page, YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, sa mga bata natin dyan, we also have TikTok. So just visit at us on our TikTok site at FilSciHub. Okay? So that's all for today in our FilSciHub Ed, and I am teacher or Kuya IMG, your biology module curator here in FilSciHub, and thank you for listening.